gentlemen, we got to get into the first topic of the show. This one is a bit pointed, and it's a conversation that continues to happen. Now, yes, there are the trolls that use this as a rah-rah part of their conversation or their rhetoric. And that is Xbox going third party, right? Some of the things that I have seen on the socials has been these couple of comments. Boom, I'm not really excited for the showcase because I kind of know everything that they have coming out, and I doubt they have any surprises. Now, that I don't believe, right? That I don't believe. I believe there are going to be several surprises, Hargeet. But the other thing that's very interesting, and it just goes to show you, how deep the fandom is. And I'm not saying fanatical. I'm saying fandom. Fandom is a very powerful thing, right? And Hargeet, we were talking in the green room, and I said, I've heard people actually say, hey, Boom, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not really excited, for the Xbox showcase because they're probably going to show a bunch of logos for PlayStation and Switch, and I'm really don't care. Like the excitement of the exclusive has been removed, so, it's not that big of a deal. Folks, look, I can't tell you how to feel. If you are a die-hard Xbox fan and you are not about that life of third party, I completely understand you. I was who you are currently. I don't like it, but I've come to accept it. I've come to accept that is the way that Microsoft is rolling. Now, everyone is not doing it, and Nintendo probably never will. And so you say, why? Why won't Nintendo do it? Because Nintendo has been marching to their own drum since they told Sony, go F yourself about your, partnership console. And that's how the PlayStation was born, right? And it's just what they are. It's who they are. PlayStation, on the other hand, are they ever going to release games on Xbox? You know what? Honestly, I think yes. I don't know if that is anytime soon. I think the full move to PC is first. And I think that's because they don't have enough studios to make games for PS5, PS4, if they're still making cross-gen, Switch, Xbox, and PC. I don't know if they have the manpower for that. So I think that you're going to see a double downing, if you will, for PC. I don't know if there's going to be that long 6-month wait or the 8-month wait that's normally the thing. I think it's going to get closer. I'd even dare say that next year, I think PC gaming is day and date releases. That's just my thought and theory. But Hargeet, I want to get your thoughts on this because the showcase is next week. Now, one of the things that soured, there were a lot of things that Phil Spencer has done that has soured the hardcore Xbox fandom, and that was going third party. But I think where some people will say, that's the straw that broke the back, is when he said during the interview, and again, folks, if you could remind me, that'd be awesome. I don't remember who it was. I'm pretty sure that it was an interview with Danny Pena and Paris Lilly. And, the conversation happened where he had made mention that moving forward, there isn't going to be a mystery to what games are going where. There are going to be logos. So a lot of people assumed that this particular showcase, which is their next big one, and it's going to be viewed by thousands and thousands of people. I'd even say millions of people. And some of those millions of people are probably going to be Switch players. A good portion of those watching are probably going to be not trolls, actual PlayStation gamers who get roped up into this whole console war rhetoric. There are just, listen, you know how many messages I get, Hargeet, from people that say, hey, Boom, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm so glad everything is going everywhere. I'm a PlayStation gamer. I have been since the PlayStation 1. I don't own an Xbox, but I always wanted to play Halo, Gears, and Forza. And they go and they buy these games, and he goes, again, no names here, but I get those messages all the time from actual gamers, not console warriors. And it's very interesting that there is a large portion of the Xbox community that seemed, I don't want to say disenchanted, but there are some people that their excitement for the showcase, which is only like a week and change away, they're not excited for it. Hargeet, let's get into this, man, because it is perplexing.
Yeah, I mean, look, if your entire purpose in life is to just console war, then I guess that's your issue. Right? If you're in it for gaming, don't you like seeing games? Like, you know, I guess it's the same thing with, you know, Jeff Keighley's show, the Summer Game Fest. I enjoy it for just being a game show. I like that. That's you know, I just want to see games, right? I guess maybe I don't know if I treat PlayStation the same. I generally like the ones that are multiplats, fine, cool, but I also look for things that are kind of specific to that platform because it's the only thing that's really relevant to me on PlayStation is their exclusives, right? So, but look, ultimately, I'm still also just I watch their showcases too. Why? Well, if they had any, because I want to play the games that they actually do put out that are interesting to me, right? So, and some of their studios I really like. They have some good studios, right? So, it really just comes down to games. And so if that's not something you're in for, this is why I also play on Nintendo. I like Mario and Zelda games. I like whatever, right? If they put out a mainline Mario this year, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be playing it. So is that like a bad thing? I don't know. I don't understand the need to be like specifically only interested if other people can't access it. Like okay, that's cool. Are you telling me you don't want to play any of the games? If Gears E-Day is coming out, which apparently there's this rumor from Jez that it's coming out this year, you're really not going to be interested in playing that game just because it maybe comes to PlayStation? Like, I don't care. Do I get to play it? That's all that matters to me. But apparently that's going to be a problem, right? One of the Gears, like, is it Reloaded, whatever the Gears remake of the first one, right?
Yeah, the Reloaded.
Yeah, that's coming to everything, right? Or it's like, okay,
yes, that's coming to everything, and that's in August. Yes.
Does that mean you have zero interest in checking that out because it's coming to like? Why should that take away the enthusiasm for the game? Like it's a game. You tell me if like The Last of Us 3 magically actually gets made for all those Last of Us fans, but it comes out day and date on PC, or heaven forbid, day and date on like Switch or Xbox. Does that mean nobody's going to play it? Like, I just don't understand that mentality. Like, what? Shouldn't you be happy to just see games? Like, isn't that the whole point of this thing? But okay, whatever. I guess some people just really want to like do console wars or something. Fine, fair enough, right? I have fun with it. I like making fun of stupid like comments, but it's not like life or death. The whole point of this is to play games. It's to enjoy games, right? This is all entertainment. So like if it's not entertaining, then something's wrong, right? Like this is not serious stuff. This isn't war. This isn't famine. It's just video games, guys. We're supposed to have fun. So if you're not having fun, then something's wrong, right? So that's how I look at it. Like I certainly point out things that I find stupid, but that's it, right? Like and the times that I get really annoyed or maybe even ticked off is usually when layoffs happen. That's about it, right? If you're going to close studios and I don't understand what's going on, that's the time I might say, what the heck, I might get annoyed, right? But other than that, it's like, yeah, well, whatever. If it's going here and there, that's fine. I'm still interested in seeing what they have to offer. And if the showcase is going to be crazy like it was last year, a lot of those games they showed last year came out on other platforms. Are you saying those games weren't fun? Like, what does it matter?
Yeah.
It's okay. But I don't know. I'm still excited. I don't care. For me, like, I'm just looking forward to what they have cooking. They have so many studios. If they, have more partner deals.
32 plus, man. I mean, that's a lot
right?
of studios, man. That's a lot of games.
Like, even if there's stuff we're getting updates on that we know about, there's still going to be things we don't know about. So I'm in it for all the fun. This time it's been very tight-lipped. I don't know anything about SGF. I haven't at least heard anything about SGF or the Xbox Showcase. So we just got the list of partners for the SGF side of it, right? But look, there's plenty of potential options there as far as like new exciting things. And then just updates on games we are all like expecting, right? So, why not? I think that this should be fun times. But if people aren't excited, then I would just have to call and question, are you a gamer? Because if your game is to just war against somebody, then on some plastic box nonsense, then that's just not the right place. Like, you need to really think about why. Like, enjoy the games. That's the point.
Yep.
We get to have games, and the best part is, for us, they all come to Game Pass. It's fun. We just get to play them. We don't have to think about it. It just shows up. Download, play. You just get to play it. It's like, why is this a bad thing? But okay, whatever. I don't know. I don't know why it needs to be negative. I always find that kind of disappointing, that everybody has to bring things down. Well, not everybody. It's always a small percentage of people, right? But that percentage tries to drag everybody else down. It's like, take your negative Nancy crap and just go away. Like, just go away. Like, seriously, we should be excited. This is a good time for gamers. We get to find out about a whole bunch of new games. We should never be down when we're getting good stuff. Like, we've been fed. This has been a great year of gaming so far, and we haven't even had the last half yet. So come on.
No, you know what? I want to add an additional piece of context to get your, and I know the answer, but I again, for me, the exclusivity thing, I always thought was wacky. Like, when they first started talking about it, I'm like, man, that's a risque kind of move, to be honest with you, right? Honestly, because I know people get angry when I say this. Yep. We have been conditioned to understand that game A plays on machine 1, game B plays on machine 2. And if you had it like that, and I didn't, because my father was a blue collar guy, I worked like 2 or 3 jobs. I had the TurboGrafx 16 and the Sega Saturn and the PlayStation 1. I had everything. I even had a Neo Geo CD and carts. Right? Like, I had everything. And it wasn't because my pops bought it for me, even though I would have liked him to do that. But no, I bought everything myself. Yeah. And again, the way it worked back in the days was, when you wanted to play Alex Kidd in Wonderworld, you bought a TurboGrafx 16. When you wanted to play the Dracula, something with blood, Rondo of Blood, like, that was an import from Japan. That was a Castlevania that was only available on the TurboGrafx 16 or the PC Engine.
Wow.
Like, I'm going way back, folks. Like, I'm taking it all the way back. But when people get upset, I don't get angry at them. I understand why you want your games on your console of choice. I totally get it. But I do have to then revert, and this is the question I have for you, Hargeet. Is it safe to admit or say that even though games that we never thought would go to PlayStation or eventually Switch, right? We never thought that Gears would go there, Forza, maybe Halo at some point. Who knows? It's not there now, but it might go there, and it probably will.
I would expect it, but yeah.
Right. So, right. It makes sense. But I still have to revert to Xbox Game Pass being the exclusive. And I think that is the only thing that matters. And again, folks, if you want to push back against that, let's have a conversation. But Hargeet, is that something that's fair to say that, hey, listen, we don't have quote unquote exclusives anymore on Xbox, but you do have Xbox Game Pass, and I think that is the exclusive that I'd rather have.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not about exclusives, right? The point why we had those exclusives was simply because of the technology available at the time. That's it, right?
Right.
So if I bought a PC, it didn't matter which PC I bought. Every single time I could play pretty much everything that was on PC, right? So the compatibility there was wide open, right? It's always been that way. It's on the console side where we had these lockdown systems, and the reason was simply they built purpose-built hardware and had purpose connected, connections, and those cartridges had to be certified, and that was it. That made it difficult. Atari didn't certify; anybody could do whatever they want. The problem with that ended up being that, well, there was no quality control, and therefore there was a lot of garbage, right?
Yes.
So whatever, fair enough, right? And so Nintendo comes along and says, no, we're going to quality control it, so you're going to get a certified by Nintendo seal, right? And that means it's a generally a well-running game, but probably a good game as well. Though there was still plenty of fluff. There's a lot of games on the NES, but either way, But that was kind of the thing. And the reason you couldn't portably take that game to something else was simply because the next console, let's say the Sega, just couldn't take that cartridge anyway, right? And it was designed to run on a specific piece of hardware, right? And you'd have to have the same OS and all that. And it's just not that easy to do. And that, I don't even think they had an OS back then. It was basically just purpose to the hardware. The cartridge runs right on the hardware, and just, so it basically had nothing in between, right? So it was just a different world. And now you're up to the point where
machine code.
And now you're up to the point where essentially you're running a PC. That is your console. And that's across all three, by the way. They all run an OS. They all have system things running in the background. And they then run your game as one of the applications. Okay. And in that world, the whole need, especially now that we've moved to all optical media, it's the same bloody thing that drives every one of them, except for the Switch, where you have like the normal, it's a memory card essentially, right? But it's also just running straight storage into into the normal, I think they use Android, some sort of weird Android derivative, whatever, right? So for Nintendo, but the other two are just running. One of them is running sort of a mix of a Unix Linux, which is PlayStation, and the other one's running Windows, right? And so they're just basic computers. And at that point, you have to ask, why do I, as the consumer, have to have this differentiation? And at some point, Microsoft's looking at the future and saying, the future customer just does not care about this, right? We grew up with it, so we expect it, right? Like you were saying, Boom, that, hey, we just expect that I play game X on console, Z, and therefore it must be only there. Well, that's just a remnant of an old time, right? So that does not need to be that way. And now we're at a point where it's like, well, everything can run on everything. So why the heck are we blocking? What is the point? Right. And so if you're going to be expanding to the point where Microsoft is, which is possibly the biggest publisher in gaming, well, you can't say, hey, you know what? I'm going to, create it to be locked down. So Microsoft has tried this before. They had the monopoly of Windows. Even then, they're like, okay, is that the right business model? Right? A lot of us in the enterprise would push back and say, cool, you effed up on the whole mobile phone thing, and we need to make apps for iOS. And guess what? I got to have Macs in my enterprise now, because that's the only way to make those mobile apps. So I need my productivity suite on Mac. So, hey, Microsoft, high and mighty baloney crap, Windows only thing, I don't care. I need this here. I need this here. So you're going to have to stop this whole idea of it has to be locked down. And thankfully, in comes Satya Nadella and says, you're right. I don't care where you consume my stuff as long as you consume my stuff. So if Windows is the right platform because Windows does that on its own, awesomeness. If not, we still want to sell you stuff. So where do I sell you stuff? Whether that's Linux or Mac, I don't care. Whether it's iOS or Android, I don't care. I just want to sell you stuff. Right. And so that mentality is essentially what's moving forward. But by the way, that's the mentality that the next generation has grown up with. They don't think in the same terms that we do, that everything's got to be locked down. If you tell them that, oh, you can only do that here, that's kind of disappointing to them. It's like, wait, I can't just play that on my iPad? What? Why not? Right? It's just a different world, right? So they're just saying, hey, let's embrace that. Let's just go forward and say, I don't care where you play, but I'll give you a box in case you think it's valuable to you, right? So if you like Windows, sure, here's Windows. You want a piece of hardware that you want to go with that from us? Sure, here you go. Oh, you don't want our hardware? You want to build it yourself? Sure. Oh, you want to buy somebody else's hardware because you like what they did? Sure. That's the Microsoft way, right? And they're just saying, why should we not adopt that in gaming when that's where the next generation is going anyway? So yes, there might be people that are like us saying, but my console war. And then they're like, but money. I don't care. I need to make money. And console wars don't make money. You know what does? Customers. Yeah. So they're like, yo, if I can get customers over there, customers over there, customers over here. Hey, you want my hardware? No problem. Please buy. I'll give you features that maybe are better than my competitor, but I'm not going to lock you out. You want to play over there? Have fun.
Yeah.
This is the world that we're moving into, right? I always knew this was going to happen. I just wasn't sure when, right?
Right.
And my stipulations were, if you're going to do this, you better have enough content to make it so that your ecosystem represents or stands out, right? And they're there. They're obviously there. And the other one was take advantage of Windows, because then I don't have to worry about, hey, something didn't come to your platform because, well, it's Windows. Everybody's going to put everything on Windows. So I could just play whatever I want, which they're doing as well. We're already hearing it. It's like all but confirmed at this point that Steam is coming to Xbox, right? Like, it's done. I don't have to worry about that anymore. Everything on Steam, cool. I'm good. Like,
Yeah.
I can eat whatever I want on the box I want. Right.
Well, that's what they're working towards. That's what the handheld is probably going to incorporate. That is what the holy grail of consoles is going to adapt. Right? It's going to be this magical box that does everything. And I've said this before. I said that, for me, who's not a PC guy, I become a Steam customer. Like I've purchased games on Steam. Like I think maybe 2 or 3. Like someone will send me a link. Hey, boom! They got the Resident Evil collection for $1. I'm gonna buy it. You know what I'm saying? I'm probably never gonna play, but I'm gonna buy it. And I did do that. I wound up buying every Resident Evil ever released. I think it was like $34. How do you not buy that? Right?
Exactly, right. And there's so many of those sales on Steam that it's so enticing. It's like, oh, you can get the Arkham collection for $5.
$5.
Why not?
Yeah, I got that in my couch. I get it in my cushions. Yeah.
Right. It's like, yeah, they do that all the time.
Yeah, it's you know what, Hargeet, I like what you're putting down. It makes a lot of sense, and I do think that the console warriors are always going to console war. I understand that. I know people. Honestly, I think there are some people, and I want to bring Kay Asante into the conversation. Kay, when we were talking, before you got here, we were talking about how there are some folks in the community, and again, no names here, that are not excited for the showcase because it's going to be a multi-plat showcase. Everything that's going to be there may or may not at some point get onto a PlayStation 5, a PlayStation 5 Pro, or even a Switch 2. Interestingly enough, there are people that feel that because it's a quote-unquote third-party showing, that there's not really a lot to get excited about. Now, of course, Hargeet and I incredibly disagree with that because I like games. And so does he. And right now, we're winning with games, especially if you are an Xbox player, because you're getting everything in Game Pass. And you made mention of it every week, that every time you turn the corner, there's another 3 games added to Game Pass. And you're like, since this date, there's been 8, and then there was 12, and then that was 19. And it's to the point where, and I know this sounds crazy, if you would have told a 12-year-old BoomStick that he had this many games available at his fingertips, I would probably have failed school and gotten beaten every day by my moms because she didn't play that. So there you go. But yeah, that's actually a thing. I want to get your thoughts on that. Why wouldn't people be excited for this showcase? And do you think that maybe the third party thing might have taken some wind out of the sail for this event, or you don't believe that at all?
So for me, and I think this is a very useful and fruitful conversation, but I always think that it's fruitful to come at it with how you approach the conversation. Why? Because like depending on where you come from, depending on how you grew up, depending on how you first interface with consoles, that speaks a lot to how you will feel moving forward about it, right? So for me, I have never I just by the very nature of living where I lived and being in the life that I was in as a kid, I was never on the playground talking about like the Genesis is better than the PlayStation or Nintendo or vice versa, right? I was just hoping to get my hands on a console to see what the fuss was all about, right? And because of that, I've never been able to fully connect with that console, that sports team mentality of mine is better than yours and we go back and forth on the playground, right? Like that has been my that's been my difference in it, right? But what I will say is this, okay? For better or for worse, for a long time there's a subset of the audience that are very hyper focused. There's a subset of the audience that knows when a trailer is released on the PlayStation channel, but not on the Xbox channel. There's a subset that see when that stuff happens. Not everybody, but there's a subset, right? And that subset tends to be the ones that, like, you know, are excited about exclusives and want to be able to have that as something that they have to hold, right? Honestly, I do feel bad for those who are in that camp, who are still in that mindset, because for a while you were made to feel special and now you're not, right? Like, it just is what it is. You were made to feel, whether it was right to make you feel special or wrong to make you feel special, you were cultivated. That's how it was, right? And now it looks like you're not being cultivated anymore. So while I will I say to the people who have that notion that it's not exciting anymore because of the exclusives and all that, like, honestly and earnestly, I would ask you to take a step back, right? Because and Boom, you tell me what you think of this, right? We as content creators sometimes get so busy about the process of content creating that sometimes it makes gaming difficult. And then I have to pump my brakes and take a step back and then jump into a game, and then all of a sudden I'm back at it, right? It seems like the fun and games of the dozens that people play on the digital recess has taken over their enjoyment, right? That's become the game, right? And if you are, as Hargeet was saying, if you are a gamer who's there about the games, then maybe you need to just step back a little bit and see if the content itself is enough for you to be there, right? Because in a vacuum, if you're a gamer, the content should warrant your excitement, and if it doesn't, then maybe you know, that makes a decision for you as well, right? I genuinely don't think it's any wrong answer. I don't necessarily think that those who were very much about the exclusives and all that are to be shunned necessarily, because for a long time they were the lifeblood of Xbox and of all the ecosystems, right? So now that they're moving away, it is what it is. The people have to get used to it. Hey, you've heard me make the short horseshoe maker joke a long time, right? So we are where we are. But I will say, I feel people's pain, because, you know, I feel like as Everborn has said, your services are no longer needed. That feeling is very much on display, and that might be, and I think that might be what's driving all of this. That the fear is that might be very much on display at this showcase, where the bandage is really ripped off, and now it's like PlayStation logos everywhere, and people would just be like, "Oh," you know what I mean? That kind of thing. It's like, to me, it's ridiculous. Be honest with you, it's a little ridiculous, because again, that's not where I came from. That's not what I was steeped in. So because of that, I cannot really connect with it. But I've had to come to an understanding that, yeah, there are those who have been about that life for a long time, and now they're being made they're being pushed aside, so to speak. It is what it is. You know?
Yeah, you know, I mean, again, and I get it. I was there. I felt a little weird about it. I've come to accept it, because, again, I've said this before, and I want to kind of just, you know, ask the question to you: is, for you and potentially a lot of people in this chat, we have almost 600 people watching live, which is awesome, is Game Pass being the exclusive enough? For me, it is.
See, to me, I think in general, we need to step away from the concept of exclusives. Like, that idea is antiquated and we need to move on from it. At least if you are in the Xbox ecosystem, right? And by the Xbox ecosystem, I mean wherever Microsoft chooses to put their games, right? Because they are at a place now where, and I see what you're saying, Boom, and I agree with the notion that the Game Pass is the true exclusive, because that's what lives on the platform, and that'll always live on the platform, right? But where I caution is, just like only 4 games, right? It's never just 4 games, right? When the community starts championing, saying, "Oh yeah, that's our exclusive," guess what? PlayStation will get Game Pass. There is a world where PlayStation finally goes, "You know what? We would love to have Game Pass on it," and you know damn well they will put that thing on that console if PlayStation lets it. Damn well.
Chiasante, to further that, if the iOS thing furthers into the console thing,
Yes,
and Microsoft
there'll
is allowed to
there's a
put
world.
their store.
There's a
on
world where they will
PlayStation,
have no choice
it's
but to
there.
allow Xbox on PlayStation. There's a world where
If that happens, yeah, you got Game
Right?
Pass on those other consoles. That's the
there's
way
that
it is.
world, right? And it's an interesting world because as Hargeet's talking about, it's a super interesting world and a realistic one because of all of the big the AAA publisher / producer of games. Who's most prepared to put their games everywhere? Who's most prepared to have a store available wherever there's a store capable? They are ready to blow up the closed ecosystem because they no longer need it. So now no one can have it. That's what's happening.
They're gonna use Epic. You know they are, right? They're gonna
Yes,
put Epic.
yes, they
Hey,
are.
why don't you guys push for this?
Yeah. I mean, people won't go quietly into that night and just let it be. They'll fight the fight that it's a different business model, smaller ecosystem. Monopolistic size is not the same. All that, but ultimately, I agree with you, Hargeet, that like because they are now at that point where they no longer see the closed ecosystem as useful, they will fight the fight to break all closed ecosystems.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen. But listen, I mean, the Apple was just fine, and not that it's a lot of money to me. I mean, to them, it's to me $500 million in the UK, and I think that is a lot of money to lose for kind of biting off your nose to spite your face. And they did, and well, we'll certainly see what happens there. But again, gentlemen, great way to open up the show. Again, I thought it was a very thought-provoking conversation, because there are folks that are just not excited for it. And I got to be honest with you. Like I said, I'm not going to yuck your yum. I'm just not going to do it. If your console warring is your lifeblood and you need it, to exist, okay, fine. But I just think that you're losing sight of what's important. And that is the amount of games that we are playing. And that means on every platform. Now, am I playing on my PlayStation right now? The answer is no. The last time I turned it on was by accident when I was dusting. And I hate when I do that because I got to freaking power down the thing, and it's a real pain in the ass. So that's the last time I turned on my PlayStation 5. If I put it to this way, I said this to Hargeet, and he laughed the other day. If I had a rig, like if I actually had a monster PC, I wouldn't need it. I wouldn't need a PlayStation 5. Like I wouldn't own one because I would wait for everything.
I think that's a challenge to both of us. We should make this happen for him.
Yeah.
We should give him the most console PC that you can have,
sir,
and set it up for him. I think we should do that.
I'm with you, sir. I think mini PCs can do wonders, man. That's a challenge. Ooh,